Every African country has something special that we always wish to discover every day. Today, we shall be talking about a country that is internationally known as a geopolitical treasure and an important area for military activities. This country is no other than Djibouti. Djibouti is a country located in the Horn of Africa, bordered by Somalia to the south, Ethiopia to the southwest, Eritrea in the north, the Red Sea, and the Gulf of Aden to the east. Great and influential countries of the world like France, Italy, China, Japan, and the US, amongst others, have installed naval and air bases in Djibouti, simply because the country is strategically located at the Bab-el-Mandeb Strait, which separates the Gulf of Aden from the Red Sea and controls the approaches to the Suez Canal. The establishment of military bases in Djibouti enables these countries to project power, conduct expeditionary warfare, and also influence events abroad. Depending on their sizes and infrastructures, these bases are used as staging areas for logistical, communication, and intelligence support. Another important fact about Djibouti, before we dive into our topic, is that it is one of the smallest countries in Africa, with an area of about 23,200 square kilometers and a population estimated at 990,000 inhabitants in 2023. Let us find out what is making this small and arid country a hub for military bases in Africa in the 21st century and its effects. Stay put and watch this video till the end, and you won't regret sparing your time to do so. Give it a like if you are already finding it interesting before we move on. Known as the Pearl of the Gulf of Tadjoura, due to its location, Djibouti is strategically positioned near the world's busiest shipping lanes and acts as a fueling and transshipment center. The number of foreign bases in Djibouti ranges between 8 to 11, depending on different sources you may consult. But the most important base, which is also the oldest, is the French base. The US has also stepped up its presence in Djibouti following last year's attack, within a framework that is known as War on Terror. Besides France and the US, China also maintains a naval base in Djibouti. At the same time, countries such as Germany, Spain, Italy, Britain, Japan, and Turkey are also active, either through bases of their own or through French and American bases. This is what complicates the calculation of the actual number of bases that are all located within close proximity to one another, and at times, their closeness to each other can cause friction between them. Russia and India have also expressed their interest in establishing bases in this country. We shall be talking more about each of these bases found in Djibouti, but before we get there, here are the key reasons why Djibouti is filled with their presence. First and foremost, Djibouti is a mandatory passageway for important maritime trade routes, making it strategically firm and fit, and is sought after by the most powerful militaries in the world. This country is ideal for naval security operations, anti-piracy patrols, counter-terror special operations, intelligence surveillance, peacekeeping, and humanitarian aid. With bases in Djibouti, nations can protect commerce and trade, guard maritime oil shipping routes, and facilitate extraction missions for expatriates working in and out of their respective homelands. Also, Djibouti is very near to hotbeds of turmoil in Africa. Countries like Somalia and Yemen in the Middle East call for proximal military bases as a result of this. Take note that Djibouti also presents a battle space suitable for proxy war, far from opposing homelands, should conflicts occur between countries installed there. The government of Djibouti leases first-hand military property to the US, China, France, Italy, and Japan, and is also considering India and Saudi Arabia. In return for the leased military bases, the barren nation, with very little natural resources, receives cash, business opportunities, and infrastructure. Indeed, Djibouti has turned her territory into a lucrative one, despite the odds and challenges that may arise as a result of different countries establishing military bases there. As we speak, the most powerful bases in Djibouti are currently as follows. 1. France. France maintains its largest foreign military base outside of its territory in Djibouti. There are more than 1,500 soldiers who are permanently deployed at the base, and their main function is to counter terrorism missions and guard nearby sea lanes. It is important to note that French forces have been in Djibouti before its independence in the 1970s and have never left the place. 2. United States. The U.S. Army has about 1,000 soldiers from the Special Forces securing their military base in Djibouti. Camp Lemonnier is the primary base of operations for the United States of Africa Command in the Horn of the continent. This base was significantly expanded in 2013. Drones are usually launched from the base to strike the sites of the Al-Shabaab group in Somalia and East Africa, as well as other extremist organizations. Washington pays $60 million annually as fees for renting the base. 3. China. The Chinese military base in Djibouti is affiliated with the Navy Department of the Chinese People's Liberation and is essential in developing Chinese capabilities on the high seas. It was constructed in 2016, and since then, it serves as an arena for relief operations and emergency aid, and also as a site for the fight against piracy. The base is located in the port of Darale, which is an extension of the port of Djibouti, 5 kilometers west of the country's capital, Djibouti. The Chinese government pays a sum of $100 million annually as rent for this base. 4. Japan. According to many of our credential sources, the need for a Japanese base in Djibouti arose due to piracy. In 2009, Japan and Djibouti signed a Status of Forces Agreement, which laid the legal foundation for the Japanese Self-Defense Force to station troops in Djibouti. Still, in 2009, the Japanese parliament also approved the anti-terrorism law, which allowed the deployment of Japanese forces in the country. 2 years later, Japan's first overseas military base was opened on Djibouti soil. 5. Germany, Spain, and Italy. Forces from Germany, Spain, and Italy are usually active within other bases, primarily the French and American bases. The military infrastructure provided by the two countries is used in a joint framework to prevent piracy and smuggling and to ensure a safe passage of commercial vehicles and ships through Bab-el-Mandeb. What are some possible challenges this military buildup can cause? According to some politicians, there are 3 reasons that increasing military base stance may create in the country. First, hosting military bases of different flags can pose a threat to the country's ability to make independence decisions on political, economic, and social policies. Different and sometimes conflicting interests of these international actors may influence the policy-making processes of Djibouti. Take the case of the port of Darale, for instance. It is an illustration of how the country's independent decision-making was put at risk when the U.S. raised its concerns over the transfer of Port's operating rights to China. Secondly, the risk of renting strategic locations to multiple global actors to open their military shows a decline of the legitimacy of Djibouti's government on both domestic and international levels. It is vital to note that Djibouti's public foreign debt surged from 50% to about 140% in recent years, and much of the lending comes from China. Also, an increasing global competition over Djibouti could risk the security of the country and its people. This may happen if global actors toil to redesign domestic political divisions in the country in order to bring their own loyal ruler to power. The presence of different foreign military, naval, and air bases in Djibouti has created geopolitical tensions. In 2014, US blocked a Russian base and started a $1 billion upgrade of Camp Lemonnier. US government officials were blinded by Djibouti's approval of a Chinese base just 2 years later, and we cannot tell what is transpiring at the moment. The competition over military bases in Djibouti imports the Indo-Pacific power rivalry to the Gulf of Aden and the Western Indian Ocean. But to a greater or lesser extent, Djibouti is a sovereign country with independent decision-making under President Ismail Omar Guelleh. His government has promised to respect the strategic interests of the United States. One last episode from other world actors shows that in one way or the other, the development plans of Djibouti have been hijacked by the interests of countries with military bases there. What is your take on this assertion? Leave your viewpoints about this in the comments section. Also, like this video and subscribe to the New Tourist channel so that you become part of the tourists' team. Turn on notifications too, so you get notified whenever we upload videos like this. Thanks for watching, and see you in our next video.